You ever have one of those mornings when the world just dares you to blink first? That was me, standing on the upstairs balcony at 4:59 a.m., watching cold mist curl around the iron bars of the estate gate while Karen's silver SUV rolled up with its headlights dimmed. Her parents crammed inside like burglars who'd lost the plot, looking for all the world like they were headed for a midnight picnic, not about to trespass on the property I'd rebuilt from ruin with my own hands. And let me tell you, the irony just about knocked the sleep right out of my eyes, because 2 weeks earlier, Karen had been in my driveway, sweet-talking about how grateful she was for all my hard work, how her parents adored the place, how we should all get together and celebrate. Yeah, that happened. But standing there, hidden behind the curtains, I knew the second she reached for that old brass key, useless, by the way, because I'd left it in her hands on purpose, that everything was about to flip. The new gate motor snapped shut with a sound that echoed over the empty lawns. Her parents jumped, and I just grinned because I'd waited for this, for her to learn that gates don't swing open for empty promises and entitlement. She got out, whispering, "I'll handle it," like this was her big moment. But the keypad stonewalled her, the lock wouldn't budge, and one by one the new cameras woke up, tracking her every move in the pale morning light. You know what I mean? Sometimes justice is better than any Hollywood script. This estate, abandoned for nearly 30 years before I picked it up at auction, had been a skeleton covered in moss, a relic at the end of a forgotten county road. When I moved in, the whole town figured I was out of my mind. But every nail, every plank, every night spent rewiring in the freezing dark was me resurrecting something worth saving. So when Karen started showing up uninvited, cookies in hand, questions about access, permits, taxes, always just a hair too curious, I started smelling trouble. She'd wander the property, compliment the fountain, but her eyes were always on the locks, the gates, memorizing my routines. You could see her wheels turning. If she could just pull the right string, drop the right hint, the estate could be hers, or at least her family's again, and she'd play the hero. But I'm no amateur. The night before this little showdown, I walked the grounds in silence, checking every camera, double-locking the stable doors, watching deer fade into the tree line. I could feel it in my bones. Entitlement always peaks right after you show generosity. So there I was, watching her fumble, thinking of the day I'd signed the deed at the county office, clerk giving me the good luck with that eyebrow, agent warning about local feelings, me dead set on proving everyone wrong. This wasn't just a renovation. After a brutal divorce, it was therapy. Every stone, every beam was a piece of my life glued back together. Karen's invasion? That wasn't just trespassing. That was someone trying to steal the only thing I'd rebuilt from scratch. By the time the rooster crowed and the sprinklers hissed awake across the rose garden, Karen stomped back to her SUV for her phone, probably to call the sheriff or some other authority. But I'd already covered that base, showed the sheriff the deed, walked him through the gate, law on my side. Her parents, meanwhile, whispered through the cracked window, "Maybe we should just leave. This isn't worth it." I'll admit, I savored the moment she realized she'd overplayed her hand. You ever have a moment when you know someone's plan is falling apart? That was this. I thought back to all the nights sleeping on a cot in the half-finished library, flashlight and thermos for company, wind howling through broken windows, not a soul offering help. Karen? She called it a haunted dump, told her friends it would collapse before I was done. Now that it sparkled, she suddenly remembered her family's claim. That hurt more than any legal threat. It was the disrespect for the sweat that transformed this place. I let the scene play out, her jabbing buttons, cursing, her parents hunched like kids caught cheating. In my mind, I was already drafting an update for the local HOA, letting them know about the new security, making sure word spread. The estate was back, and it was mine. As the sun burned through the mist, I slipped out the side door, boots crunching gravel, just loud enough to announce myself. Her head snapped up. Her parents straightened. I smiled. Nothing cruel, just the look of someone who's played the long game, and asked if she was enjoying the view from outside the fence. She tried to spin it. "Oh, just checking on the property for you." But her voice shook. I kept it calm, told her about the security system, the historic designation, how any trespassing would be handled by the book. Her parents' faces changed. Suddenly, They looked like bystanders in a play where the plot had turned. I dropped the privacy screen behind the bars and said, "Next time, written notice. My consent. No exceptions." She sputtered about keys and codes, but I told her every code had been changed, every lock replaced, every authority notified. The estate was mine, period. As I walked back to the house, I heard her father mutter, "Let's go home." They drove off, taillights swallowed by mist, and I finally let myself breathe. But this was just round one. Karen doesn't give up easy. And I knew it. The estate stood behind me, a fortress reborn. And as I looked at the rising sun glinting off the windows, I thought about all the hidden surprises still waiting, deed clauses she hadn't seen, the sting I was setting up with my lawyer. This wasn't just about land. It was about the principle, the right to build something with your own hands and keep it safe from people who think they're owed a piece. The week after, I walked the gravel drive, touching the old stone walls, hearing echoes of the estate's past, thinking back to the day I first saw it. A shell, cold December. Light leaking through cracks. I'd walked into the grand hall, knee-deep in dead leaves, but I saw something worth fighting for. Everyone at the auction treated me like I'd lost my mind. But every hard winter, every roof patched, every beam lifted alone was a promise to myself. No more compromise. And Karen? She only showed up after the risk was gone. She'd show me old photos. Talk about her family's memories, nudge for events, heritage tours, little requests that, one after the next, tried to turn my home into public property. But I kept records, journaled every interaction, installed cameras in every nook. You ever get that sixth sense that somebody's just waiting for you to mess up? Yeah, that was me. I saw her car more than once parked just beyond the line, lights off. That's when I built the real fortress, layer after layer, legal and physical. Friends called me obsessed. Didn't matter. Karen took my boundaries as weakness, started bringing her parents, giving tours as if I was just a caretaker. By the time I'd restored the last wall, she was floating proposals for public events, hinting about her parents' medical needs, always an angle. I declined, politely but firmly, every single time. One evening, I caught her and her parents inside the stables, claiming to check on the horses. Never mind, I didn't own any yet. I escorted them out, locked the gates, called my lawyer. He said, "Be patient. Document everything." So I did, tightened security, refilled the deed, got a formal letter from the county, my ownership, end of story. But she persisted, softening her approach, offering help. That was always about getting a foothold. That era taught me something. Restoring a house is nothing compared to defending it from human ambition. Karen became the adversary, and I became a strategist. The scaffolding came down, the gardens bloomed, and I made a vow on the balcony at sunset. Nobody was taking this from me. That promise carried me through every twist after. And here's where I'll leave you for now. The estate, standing silent and strong, but the story far from finished. Because in this kind of fight, every win is just the next move on a bigger board, and folks like Karen, they never play just one hand. So, you tell me, where do you draw the line between protecting what's yours and turning into the thing you're fighting? Drop a comment, tell me your take. Is justice what we make of it, or just the last person standing? Like, share, and let's see how you'd hold your ground.